This is the Alfie Brown Show. If you are listening to this on iTunes, then please leave a review. If you're a fan of the podcast, obviously, if you're new to it, then wait to make a judgment about the quality of what I'm doing. But I wanted to say up top, while I have everybody's attention, if you do enjoy it on a week-to-week basis, then please will you leave a positive review, or maybe comment on the YouTube, or maybe share it on one of your own social media platforms, and do whatever it is we do in this day and age in lieu of payment, like monetary payment. You could just shout about this digitally as far and wide as you possibly can. It is Thursday, isn't it? I think it's Thursday. I think it's just turned Thursday, actually. And I am not gigging. I didn't gig this evening because of the Omicron variant being 70% quicker at manifesting itself in the lungs of its victims than previous variants. And therefore, lots of people have COVID. I think it's still 19, lots of different variations on the 19, the classic COVID that we all got used to in 2020. And owing to that, there's a lot of people not going to see comedy at the moment, and therefore I'm not able to do my job. So I thought instead of that, I would do this because it's fun, isn't it? Better than nothing. Keeps my brain active, keeps your ears full of stuff, full of me, at least for the time being. So that's good, isn't it? I think. I wanted to speak about breakups, and I'm what I want to do eventually is I want to write a piece of stand-up comedy about breakups and the actual event of breaking up with somebody. Not breaking up with somebody that you've been dating, but the breakup of a loving relationship, like a tormenting, harrowing, life-altering, will I ever get over this breakup? Because I think there's so much funny stuff in the actual moment of the breakup. Of course, it's harrowing, and first of all, it's one of those dark and depressing and deep things that I don't think an audience could go, I actually don't think it's funny to joke about breakups, because they're so incredibly prevalent, despite the fact that they're incredibly upsetting, like something else upsetting that you might not want a comedian to joke about might be. You cannot have a go at the comedian for joking about breakups, because that's everyone. Everyone's had it. So you're not special, because we've all had our heart broken, and we all have hurt in love at some point. We've been through something devastating because of love. So it's a huge, volatile shared experience. And you get, like, in stand-up shows in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, or storytelling shows. Storytellers. I'm going to see a storyteller. Oh my God. Which is when you're not funny anymore, you might do, and you're a stand-up comedian, what you might do is you might do a storytelling show, which is a lot like stand-up comedy, but with all of the difficulty taken out. So I mean a bit of stand-up about what it is to break up with somebody. That's what I think would be really funny, because of the tumult that you feel, because of that moment. There's a great moment when you break up with somebody. Obviously not a great moment, but a huge moment where you go from not breaking up to breaking up. Somebody just breaks the seal on the event and says, I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't think this is working. That's the coward's way into a breakup. I don't think this is working. Like, that's taking all the elements of it casts the idea of the relationship as something separate. So you don't have to really reconcile yourself to the fact that it's you or them, or it's just this third party relationship. It isn't working. It isn't doing us the service that it used to do anymore. Of course, then you've got the much more direct and personal, I don't love you anymore, I'm in love with somebody else, I want to break up, I want to see other people is a weird one, because that's not, I'm not sure if anyone has ever had I want to see other people. Of course, given social etiquette, this should all be done in person. You should have met up. Maybe you live together, and or you spend all the time together, and it's just, this is an event that has invaded the very natural quotidian rhythm of your lives together, and then something has broken it. You went from herbal tea and watching Law and Order Special Victims Unit 1 minute to then going, all of the comfort in these daily rhythms I will obliterate because I don't love you anymore. And it's just dawned on me that this needs to be the moment that I tell you. And it's almost like an impossible thing to say, because you have to, the words is like stuck in your spine. I don't want to love you anymore. They're in your bones, and they're making your bones itch. You feel uncomfortable and hot and full of fucking words. Full of words that you can't make come out because they're so deadly. They're so destructive. The words are going to destroy something. They're going to make tomorrow, everything that was sure about tomorrow, it makes uncertain. It's explosive what you're about to do, but you have to, because a lack of certainty is better than what you're sure you don't want. Or maybe it comes the other way. Maybe somebody says this to you. Maybe you were happy. Maybe you were drinking herbal tea and you were watching Law and Order Special Victims Unit and you were quite happy with the way things are going. And then suddenly, without, your heart goes from calm. You were not aware of your heart 1 minute until somebody says, I don't think this is working, if they choose that one. And then and your heart starts thudding, like ready to break, because you have no idea what's just happened. And then there's a silence where you get ready to either have a fight, or maybe one party gets ready to protest, as if a mind can be changed about this, or as if perhaps maybe good relationships come back from these moments of breakup. I know that, I'm in a relationship that once was broken up, but I think we were young and extenuating circumstances, and then we got back together different and better people than we were when we broke up. So yes, there you go. It does and it can. I've titled the episode cheekily because I wanted to talk about this and I knew that would be a good thing to call it. So I apologize for having done that, but I have to say I don't regret it. Everything, when you've chosen that everything was going to be different, or you've been informed that everything is about to be different. So there you are. Okay, this is where we are. We're in this moment. And we're in this moment of silence and something about to erupt. Like when there's a storm coming and you can feel the pressure in the air change. It might give you a headache. And then you go, okay, how are we going to control the explosion? How are we going to contain our emotions? But at the same time, maybe the broken up with party is thinking, how do I stop this from happening? How do I unchange this person's mind? And maybe the person who's said this is trying to convince themselves that it's still a good idea. There's just so much fucking uncertainty everywhere. And it's so huge to have to force yourself to do it. This is why so many people are in unhappy relationships. It's because breaking up is so fucking difficult. And then you suddenly see, whoever it is, if you're breaking up, whether you're the breakup or the breakup E, you'll very often see the person that you've broken up with in a totally new light. Like there's this, and this is after a while, after a while of negotiations, after a while of sort of depleted senses of happiness and contentment and safety, you begin to feel unsafe and unhappy. And then this person that you saw, like they've got a brand new face and brand new tits and a brand new body, everything. It completely redrawn them. And I remember something my granddad said when he was dying. He just would stare at the rose bush outside. And in fact, Clive James has a poem to a similar effect about a maple tree. Is it about a maple tree outside? And he just stares at the maple tree and goes, how do I never realise how beautiful the maple tree was? I think it's about a maple tree. And then suddenly, as this person's about to leave, you go, I never realised. It's a combination between having not studied them enough recently, about having taken their aesthetic as a kind of very rudimentary part of your everyday waking life. So suddenly they're shining, they're lucid, kind of bright versions of themselves, and you've just become screechingly horny because not only are you rediscovering every single line and curve and anything about everything they ever were, but you have this urge to have them again, to kind of connect, because you've just been like the bone has been broken, the connection's been severed, everything is gone, everything is fucked, and the person who you saw completely, the person who you was the Father John Misty lyric, that's what true love means, to truly see and be seen. I love that. And that is what love is, to truly be seen by somebody else and to see somebody else, so that you almost can work in combination as almost as one consciousness, or your conscious experience in the presence of them is as free as it would be when you are by yourself. That's what true love means. So then to devastate that, and I often have this sensation when I'm in the presence of somebody who I've previously been in love with, like we were so familiar. How are we just not going to talk about how familiar we were? Are we going to keep that as a thing underneath everything that we're saying to each other right now, with this new, hello, this a brand new formality that we've discovered? We repainted everything we stripped down. We've put the walls back up that we tried so hard to break down so that we could know each other. And now we're very a real tension and a formality. And you're worried about that. You can tell that during a breakup. You're worried that you're going to have to be formal, that you're going to lose the sense of being known and to know somebody, and rife with ideas about, well, what happens if somebody else knows them? What happens if somebody else knows them more, knows them better? Then who will I be? That will be more alone than if I had never known them, because then I've known what it was to be close, to have somebody close to me that I knew, that I loved. So what am I left with now in this breakup? What can I salvage? Well, the thing that I can salvage is this person that I now am unendingly horny for. And then you start kissing And that is the best. The breakup, panting and desperate, like huge, wide open mouth, like you're trying to inhale this person to stop them from leaving. Big gulps of kiss. And from the outside, it looks mad. Like breakups to, I don't know what the funny angle here is. There will have to be a funny angle to but there is something really funny about it, because first of all, what's really funny is people being earnest, and people, when they're breaking up, are very earnest. Nobody's taking the time out to analyze themselves or be guarded. It's the people who we most like taking the piss out of are the people who are the most earnest, and the people who are the most earnest are these people that are breaking up. Me, when I'm breaking up, I'm frantic and furrowed-browed and just trying to make sense, not just of the moment, but of the rest of my life that I'm having to recompose for myself in my own brain as I go. And I want to have the person that I've lost back in this moment. So I'm like fingers all in the back, and the drawing of somebody so close so that you almost want to kind of weave your ribs together. You want to be bound to this person. And the idea of like sex as an actual union, like as an actual exercise in being the closest you can be with that person, rather than just this sort of rhythmic beating for, you know, that leads to some routine ejaculation. No, this doesn't even need that. It doesn't need it just needs the fusing of these two people, like welding a joint together. But the joint will never quite be the same, even if you manage to get it back together, because you can see where the metal's fused. My collarbone that I broke still has a lump from where the bone's fused. It'll never be the same again. That's the best bit of a breakup. And I don't want to break up with Jessica, my partner, my common law wife. We have a wonderful relationship, albeit in many ways non-traditional. But, you know, what is it? 2/3 of marriages end in divorce. We're not married, but, you know, 2/3 of long-term, most relationships end. So whilst it's non-traditional elements are often met with judgment, you know, the chances were never good anyway. So what are you going to do? The idea of uncertainty and fear of uncertainty, and uncertainty overwhelming you, so that you do anything that you can to bring into control the things that you can, like sex, like gulping down big kisses of the person that you're losing, feeling horny, feeling lost, feeling desperate. Whether you're breaking up with somebody or being broken up with, those feelings of uncertainty or desperation are the same. Because if you love someone, you're never going to be that sure about breaking up with them anyway. Even if you've met somebody else, you're still going to be devastated. It's never an easy thing to do. How can life possibly work? Especially if you've got kids. I remember moving books out of a flat where I lived with my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend. I remember moving the books and putting them in a car. And obviously you can see them behind me. A lot of my identity is in my books, in terms of the possessions that I have that make wherever I am feel like my home. It's my books, my memories, I have quite a good olfactory kind of sense of memory. I have vivid memories. If I ever smell a hair wax that I used when I was a teenager, I can remember what kind of era of my teenage years that particular hair wax was. I think a lot of people have that. But I could also have with books or thoughts or things that I've thought, ways that I've gone about my life, and the way that the books that I've been reading at the time have informed the things that I've said on stage a lot of the time. I mean, I've genuinely just watched, me and Jessie, we went away to Liverpool for a couple of days, and we were we watched Scenes from a Marriage, the series based on the Ingmar Bergman miniseries from ages ago. It's been remade with Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain. It is absolutely fucking sensational. I loved it. And the more that I said I loved it, the more Jessie would say, stop saying you loved it. Stop saying you love something that involves breaking up. And I go, what do you mean? Just because I love the programme about breaking up doesn't mean I want to break up. I loved Band of Brothers. I don't want to go to war with Germany. I can love something without wanting to live it. I don't want to... I love Liverpool Football Club. I've no desire to run around outside. I'd much rather be on my sofa observing all of these things, observing the beauty, the intricacy, the emotional journey, and having the remove of not having to actually live it. Thank you all the same. But Jessie experiences these things in quite a visceral way. And so when they're breaking up in Scenes from a Marriage, that's not a spoiler, you know, come on, what was it going to be about? She started sort of shuddering and like rocking back and forth and going, Alfie. Like she couldn't, like she was experiencing the pain of these two fictional people's breakups so physically that she couldn't contain it. She had to be living it. We've laughed about this since, and she said I should mention this, so I'm not talking out of school, don't worry. Out of class? What's the expression? I don't know. But when the episode was over, she sort of had to take off all of her clothes, and then she sort of lay there crying on the bed, like frantic and not knowing what to do, saying, what shall I do? What do I like she needed to be rid of anything. Like she was too tense. Her skin had been made too sensitive by the sensitivity she felt emotionally and spiritually because of the program. She had to be naked and free of all her clothes. It was such a weird, visceral and yet symbolic response to something that she found incredibly hard to watch. I really recommend it. It's given that we've just watched all of Succession, that scratched the itch somewhat. We did lots of Christmas shopping and bought some crap for our children. Bought lots of crap for our children. Bought little bits of non-biodegradable. I think I spoke about this last time. And then, like, you come back home and you go, I missed you so much. I missed you so much. Hi guys, just even 2 days away. And when you're away for 2 days, you spend your whole time, like, as a couple, you know, enjoying each other. And to actually see the person who you parent with in a context outside of that which you parent for the first time in God knows, you know, how long, is so kind of magical and like reassuring, because this person who you essentially share a job with during the week, this person who you take your orders from in terms of the general running of the house, the organizational aspects of it are so that she has a better grasp of what needs doing. So I take my order of what needs doing, and that way she's obviously, me working in a more self-motivating way would be preferable, but often when I try and do that, I do the wrong thing. So it is always good just to ask what needs doing around the house with regards to the upkeep of children. And that way I tend not to make any faux pas and ruin what was, put the washing in the wrong bit or put the pants in the wrong drawer or things like that. I doing the washing up when actually the bin needed taking out first. The order of things is not what I'm an expert in. These are very trifling issues and not nearly enough to cause any breakups. What is the funny angle of breaking up? I'm sure I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I'm sure I'm going to have some story about breaking up that is going to be funny, because the pain is so real. It can't not be funny. It has to work. Anyway. The privilege of being together. We were very lucky, and we're very grateful to her mother for looking after the baby. But it's almost like a surprise, like a nice bonus surprise when you're hanging out with the mother of your children or the father of your children, I assume in her case, and it's your first time away from the kids for a little bit, and you go, oh, yes, I like you. I'd forgotten that in all of the chaos. We get on, don't we? That's a relief. That's a really nice thing to discover. You're telling me, not to drink a few too many times, and I want to have a nice glass of wine, and I'm amusing myself constantly with the idea of ordering a garçon, could I have the 5-litre carton of Namaqua wine, please? Thank you very much indeed. That amuses me for some reason, doesn't amuse her, but we can't be working in synchronized mirth the entire time, can we? So there that is. Sorry about me, Jesse. And then after this kind of relaxing, oh my God, we've slept through the night. Oh my God, we've slept until 10, quarter to 10, but still. And then you get home and it's like every bit of, it doesn't matter. It's like having a special move on Street Fighter. Like a special move, it doesn't matter whether you have a full energy bar or a little bit of energy bar. It wipes you entirely out. And your kids have a way of, even if you were exceptionally well rested, even if you had slept for days and you'd never felt fresher or more full of life, the experience of just another fight, it brings you right back. You'll reset immediately to exhaustion. All the good work that you'd done, all the hot stone massages you'd had, all the glasses of rich red wine and the good meals and the good times and the resetting of your brain, all of it just crushed into dust in front of your fucking eyes by the madness of these children. Disturbing each other. Eating in slow motion. I know that I speak a lot about the anxiety involved in trying to get your child to eat what you'd like them to eat. But my son just eats in slow fucking motion. Like he's taking the fucking piss out of me. It's like the hand moving from the plate to his mouth. It's like, what would you do if I wasn't here? Would you just die? Is that how far away from our evolutionary instincts we've gotten? That you just need me here to make sure that you don't just kill yourself by the absence of instincts to eat. What would you do without me? It can't be that you need me to eat. It's like, what else am I going to do? Like, push your knees into your ribs and like use you like a bellows so that you remember to breathe every now and again. I can't be responsible for the most basic of human functions. You fucking eat. And then I put them to bed. Jessie put them to bed. We watched the Whitney Houston program. I'm not that big a fan of Whitney. I mean, obviously it's a good voice, but it's just, there's no light and dark, is there? It's all quite like loud quite a lot of the time. There's no, you know, the soft. I could do with a bit more softness. Anyway, she's dead now, so it doesn't matter. And then I went for a bath and argued with an anti-vaxxer on Twitter, and that isn't a good use of your time. I don't know if you needed telling that or if but it's very, I don't know if you've watched any GB news, but it's piss for pigs and idiots. And I was watching it, and Mark Dolan, who is presenting it for money, and I can't remember the quote, but don't argue with a moron. They'll bring you down to their level. It is very difficult to argue with somebody who's just intent on being moronic. Like, if as soon as, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a genius, if somebody just keeps on interrupting you by saying, I know you are, but what am I? It's very frustrating, and it's very hard to come across as intelligent yourself, because this sort of squabbling, inane dog shit that seeps out of a loser's mouth is just, well, how are you going to pick that up and fashion that into I wonder what my riposte to that sort of slim slither of dog shit will be. Well, you can't have a riposte to a slim slither of dog shit, because it's just a slim, you just observe, oh, that stinks. And then as soon as you observe that stinks, then that's not a good point either. So it is impossible to argue with this. Like, how can they have the same argument so many times? It's like, as soon as you see a clip, it's about cancel culture or Brexit, elites or cancel culture or Brexit, or like cancel culture or Brexit, or it's like Dorothy walking through the woods, or lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! Apart from it's Brexit and cancel culture and dog shit. Oh my! Brexit and cancel culture and dog shit. Oh my! Brexit and cancel culture and dog shit. Oh my! I mean, it just doesn't. Why are you so enthusiastic about how like small a faculty for self-awareness can you have to have, or do you have to be interested in yourself saying the same thing over and over again? I forget the original point I was making about why I brought this up. What was I talking about before I started going on about Great British news, Great Britain's news? Arguing with an anti-vaxxer, that's it. But on Twitter, it's easier because they can't talk over you, essentially. Because on Twitter, they just have their points of view, and it's still irritating because they can just tweet a response that hasn't taken on board any of the previous information. So they can go, why do you want corporations regulating regulating a healthy person's immune system? And you go, well, it's because if they're vaccinated, then they will be contagious for a shorter period of time, and therefore will infect less people, and therefore the numbers will go down, therefore less people will die, we can all get on with our lives. And then you get a response that's, yeah, but like we're all healthy. And you go, yeah, no, I understand that. But that's not, I've just said that's not what the problem is it? I know I'm healthy. that's not what it's for, then they go, yes, I understand that. But then we'll make some other point that sort of ignores it again. So you just end up trapped, because ultimately it's not really like, this is friendship. This is company for them, I suppose. It's always it's a big piece of people's personalities. This vaccination skepticism. The whole thing about you'll get an inflamed heart. COVID gives you an inflamed heart. I'm boring myself talking about it. But it's incredibly... And the fucking Boris Johnson and the government, like, how are we not... I was talking about things being disgusting. Like, I don't think I've got a big enough reflex for what is disgusting. I don't think disgusting is an evolutionarily inbuilt reaction to things. So when you see shit, or like people who haven't washed fucking, or people who stink, or bad breath, or maggots, or mold, or like a wound that isn't, or that's gone over, or like poo, like me, that is because it's a response to the fact that your evolution, your evolved brain over the centuries has learnt that those things are disgusting because those things will give you a disease. I am disgusted by that because I see that, I recognise that instinctively. Inbuilt in me as a human being is the instinct to recognise the danger of disease. So I feel disgust. And what I do is my stomach churns, and I sweat, and I flinch. I flinch away to try and remove myself from where the disease is. Maybe I'll vomit to try and emit any of the disease that might have already gotten into me. I do everything I can from an evolutionary standpoint to get away. Like with the toilet blockage that we had recently, which meant that every time you used the toilet and I'm sorry to have to say this in these terms, but it is, 2021, and we are all friends, aren't we, friends? Come on, we're friends. Every time you do a big shit in the toilet, you would have to plunge it. Now, I don't have a plunger like a wooden stick with a little orange kind of like hat thing on the bottom that sucks up and pushes down. I've got this big kind of plastic bellows, like a kind of an accordion type thing that you stick down the toilet, and then you use the bellows to blow the shit back up the pipe and disrupt the persistent blockage, and you disrupt that with the emission of air that accumulates in the kind of big bellows type plunger kind of thing, and then it all sucks up the kind of the toilet water fuses with the shit. Anyway, it's disgusting, and the poo water flecking the walls as I sort of gag with the smell of. I have that disgust reflex there. But in terms of like being a vector of disease, Boris Johnson is far more dangerous than my toilet is. So why do we not... We should surely find him more disgusting than we do my shitty poo water toilet, as he is a more dangerous representation of death than my shitty toilet is. So it makes sense for us to find him disgusting. Do you know what I mean? Somebody asked me to speak about polyamory, so I'll do that and then I'll go. Don't know how long this episode's going to be, but it's a bonus episode, so there's no... I usually try and get them between 50 minutes and an hour, but whatever. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about on the podcast in future episodes, then please contact me. contact@alfiebrown.comedian.com, or you can find me on Instagram @alfiebrown.comedian. But I think somebody called Lottie, I think it was Lottie, but spelt well. It could have been a Swedish person called Ludde, and the umlaut wasn't there, or whatever it would be that would make it that. But anyway, Lotte. That's the best way of spelling Lottie, I think. Lottie. And Lottie wanted me to speak about polyamory. Now, polyamory, Lottie, gives me the fucking willies. I have to say. Sounds exhausting, doesn't it? I have enough trouble with unyamory. Unyamory takes up more than enough of my time. Can you imagine trying to negotiate loving two people? The anxiety, the just, you know, from a day-to-day basis, the maintenance. Like, love isn't something that continues living unattended, or it takes upkeep to maintain love. Polyamory. Polyfuckery. Absolutely, yes. I could easily do that. Because as a man, possibly a bad man, some have said, I find it quite easy to separate church and state in that way. The fuck and the love. I find it very easy to fuck. You can fuck in love. It's different to fucking out of love. I find them to be completely separate things. It's a different kind of attachment, a different kind of experience. But polyamory, I know some people who have done it, and I know some people who obviously it hasn't worked for them in that they didn't like grow old together and die, but like what is working? It worked for them in that they had a relationship for a few years and then broke up, like everything else. That's working to me. Obviously it made it more complicated in some areas, but it also meant that a relationship that didn't work in some ways, or might not have worked elsewhere. But polyamory, the whole kind of communicating, I think what I was saying at the beginning about what makes love, which is that to truly see and be seen, to strip down artifice, and to be what you consider to be your most authentic self in front of this other person. And that's, I think, what makes the rub of love as a mutually experienced phenomenon romantically in a long-term situation a difficult thing to navigate, because how authentic and how presently yourself you are in front of this person is what makes you liable to take them for granted. Which is why you need to have these times in Liverpool where you experience the phenomena of what the other person is, to fully engage with this person, and to not let the fact that you can live side by side with them become something that you take totally for granted. I think. Obviously, I think all of this. What else do I fucking do? Of course I think. Polyamory seems to me, my instinct would be to remove a lot of that. I mean, I'm somebody, I have to confess, that when I'm meeting my friend, and I have, I've got very close friends, and if I'm meeting one of my friends and he goes, oh, I've invited Pete along as well, even if Pete's one of my best friends as well, I will go, ugh, 3 people's just not as good as 2. 2 people, there's no performance. And so if it was a throuple, I can't ever get my head around the idea there not being some sense of performance or hierarchy, or that it could ever be intimate in the same way. or not that it could ever be as intimate in the same way, but you just decrease your chances. If it's rare to experience love between two people, then exponentially that means it must be even more rare to get a third that can fit the other two in the same way. And if it's polyamory, whereby you go, I experience loving you and know you and am known by you to a point where we love each other. I find it's the other thing I think about loving someone is you find as much comfort in the things that you don't like as the things that you do. It's all there, and it after a point it just becomes the fact that you almost wouldn't want any different, because you become familiar with the negative aspects of what the love entails, as well as the familiarity becomes the thing that you like, rather than the actual positive part of what it is to have that trait or characteristic. If that makes sense, I hope it does. Please tell me if it doesn't. Please tell me in the comments below. But as somebody who doesn't like, or one of my negative characteristics will be to try and avoid a difficult conversation, I don't think I could get into the polyamory chat as easily as some others. Darling, I would like to, and I love you, don't get me wrong, I just don't love you as completely as I might. I feel like I have a little bit of a surplus of love, and whilst there's a lot of you to love and there's many lovable things about you, I think I'd like to love somebody else. Of course, as we've exemplified with the children and the other child and the other child and the other child, when you have a second child or a third child, you don't run out of love, do you? Love isn't a finite resource. So, given that it's we've proved it to be that love isn't a finite resource, I was thinking I might also like to love somebody else romantically. So we've got 4 children, and I've got 3 partners, and I love them, and I think maybe if there were about 60 hours in a day, then maybe polyamory would be a good idea. But I think my problem with it is the time constraints, because I can't imagine giving the time up to be. And what is, like, it would be a different kind of love. It might be like a lust, but that's not what I truly understand about polyamory, is that you engage in a loving way with more than one person. I can imagine engaging in a lustful way, even an intimate way, and like a way that has emotion in it, but not like love, I don't think. Not a permanent and like contemporaneous sense of love. And if you do, that's how, people can't contain it. That causes trouble and mistrust, and maybe you accept jealousy as a part of what that is. You go, God, I'm so jealous that, Jessie also has Michael, and she loves Michael, and I'm not Michael, and she loves me too. But of course, given that love is not a quantifiable thing, and I've never seen Michael's cock, I don't know what it is, how big it is, or what it tastes like, or how ferociously they make love, or anything like that, I am just left here wondering about it. I mean, obviously she's out with Michael right now, and my brain and my imagination, they're playing merry hell with me as I sit here playing with my penis and watching MasterChef The Professionals and eating another tub of low-calorie ice cream. And of course, I've really not made the most out of the low-calorie element of the ice cream, given that I've had my 4 or 5 tubs of it now. So what I'd really like to do is I'd like to kind of crawl into my own shoe. And of course I have my other partner who I love, Mavis, but of course she's got her other partner, Jackson, and she's with Jackson tonight, and there's just too many kind of spinning plates to organise. I mean, really, Mavis shouldn't have seen Jackson on the same night that Jessie was seeing Michael, and now I'm all alone watching MasterChef The Professionals, and the fucking kids are asleep upstairs, and I'm just kind of babysitting, doing my duty. And I do love them, but it does feel like work when I know that Jessie and Mavis are both getting filled up by the other people that they love, and I love across two spectrums as well, but so do they. And then Jackson's got, Phyllis, and I could ring Phyllis up, but Phyllis never liked me at these kind of huge awkward parties that we hold, full of all the sort of mutual zigzag and daisy chain of lovers that seem to have accumulated in this little circle. We should start a little football team, I think, but I don't know how it would work. And if you are polyamorous, to Mr. and Mrs. Amorous, a daughter, Polly. If you are polyamorous, then tell me how it works. Maybe you could leave me a voice note or send me a message. I'd be very, very curious to figure out how it worked for you, and whether any of the concerns that I've raised in this short nervous breakdown ring true to you. I'd be interested to know that. I'd also be interested to know any good breakup stories, or how true my experience of the breakup rings to you. I'd be interested in all of that. I think I did well in this podcast. I'm not sure what you think, but I think I did fairly well, and I'd like subscribe, share, rate, review, share. And I hope it's been all right. I feel like I've been all right. Better than Monday, that's for damn sure. Felt a little bit off kilter on Monday, but now back in the full swing of things. And there's every chance, ladies and gentlemen, people, friends, my friends, just take all the gender out of it. You are my friends. Watch how you glisten. See how you shine in the light, my friends. My friends. Friends. This might be the last podcast I do in this space. I might have found another place. Wouldn't that be cool? It might just be. All right. Friends. Take care of yourselves, friends. And don't forget to be in touch with anything that you think that would be good to talk about, because I quite like doing the things that you request. It always makes me a little bit more imaginative. And yes, Instagram, Alfie Brown Comedian, for all the latest news on tours and things that I'm doing. Take care. Have great weeks. Avoid Omicron like the plague. Not like the plague. It is a plague. Oh, God. Okay, I'm definitely done now. Good podcasting to you, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.